shining, they all dare. Tougher, tougher, fists held high. Warriors fight till the night says die. FWE, where battles divine. Every broken bone, all by design. Chained to the thrill, they let it be. This ain't a game, it's FWE. FWE, where battles define. Every broken bone, all by design. Chained to the thrill, they let it be. This ain't a game, it's FWE. Oh, FWE, FWE. Oh, FWE, FWE. FWE, where battles define. Every broken bone, all by design. Chained to the thrill, they let it be. This ain't a game, it's FWE.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our way on the road to FWE Royal Brawl, hot off the heels of the FWE Fairly Odd Partners Challenge. We welcome you here into the FWE Arena. I am Seth Cole, being joined by the Wayfinder Cruiser Champion, Jack Mitchell. Jack, it's time to run it back from one of our tournament matchups last week.
Looking forward to this one. This one ended in a count-out during that tournament, Fairly Odd Partners Challenge, so I'm looking forward to seeing if we can decide who would have won this matchup for real.
I forgot to actually mention as well when introducing you the one half of the tournament winners. Congratulations on that, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. It felt really, really good to get a win in front of a hometown audience, too. Not the biggest venue, but still good to show up in front of Los Angeles nonetheless. Glad to get the W in front of the home fans.
Your tag team partner, Gamora, going to be in action later on here this evening. The #1 contendership for the Women's World Championship of the Galaxy going to be on the line. But as Hades and Maleficent make their way down to the ring, two individuals you're very familiar with, faced off against them in the finals of the tournament. How they got to the finals, though, was via a count-out against Aladdin and Jasmine. So Aladdin and Jasmine, they asked for a run back here so that we have a clear, definitive winner, no countouts involved. And I mentioned this during that Fairly Odd Partners tournament. For those that are just tuning in and they didn't tune into that PLE, you might think, well, Hades and Maleficent, this is a rather odd pairing, isn't it? No, it is actually not. For those that are familiar with the Disney Channel movie series, The Descendants, you'll know that one of the main characters, Mal, is the daughter of Hades and Maleficent. So the two met each other at school. I'm trying to remember what the school was called. Oridon Prep, I believe, is what it was called, and ended up getting married. The marriage did not last long, but they came together here for this tournament, did well advancing to the finals, and we'll see if that same chemistry can be found here tonight. Aladdin and Jasmine, they advanced to the quarterfinals of the Fairly Odd Partners Challenge Tournament, defeating the likes of Flynn and Rapunzel, Hulk and Black Widow, but as mentioned, lost via countout to Hades and Maleficent. So a little opportunity for redemption for these two here this evening in our opening matchup.
And props to Hades and Maleficent for actually accepting the challenge, too. You know, it can be a little bit tricky to determine a winner in a situation like that, but now we're going to find out who probably would have won that matchup for real. No countouts involved. Here we go.
Interesting point of note, this is actually the first time on a weekly episodic FWE event that we've had a mixed match challenge. It took us having that PLE last week to have our very first one here, and hopefully this will be a staple going forward. Of course, the women wrestle the women, the men wrestle the men. Jasmine and Maleficent starting this thing out, and Maleficent with the early upper hand.
And the more mixed match challenges that we can have, the more, you know, the more feuds, the more rivalries, the more storylines that we can have going into those matchups. So a lot can definitely come out of nothing, seemingly nothing, because these, you know, you don't typically see these types of matchups before, but now we're going to hopefully see them a lot more frequently here on FWE.
I think I loved the most about that tournament last week was, you know, there were some duos that made sense. I mean, Aladdin and Jasmine, Elizabeth Swan and William Turner, Hulk and Black Widow, but ended up having some very unusual alliances, as we saw Dylan Young teaming up with Kim Possible. We saw Michael Norman teaming with Elias. We got a cover here by Aladdin on Hades, who kicks out at 1. I mean, we even saw you teaming up there with Gamora, and, you know, not only kind of like playing into the bit, we saw you coming out with the Star-Lord Garb and Dylan Young coming out looking like Ron Stoppable and everything, but even just like to the team names as well. I mean, I'll say it again for those who didn't know, the winners of the tournament, the team was Why Is Mitchell. I mean, man, I tell you what.
We had some fun. We definitely had some fun. It was fun to, you know, play the whole Star-Lord bit for a week. But it's another resume builder. That's something that I'd actually like to address next week, so keep an eye out for that.
That is all in the rearview mirror, and now the eyes look forward to Royal Brawl. As double elbows in the corner there by Hades, cover in on Aladdin, and a kick out at 1.
Big size disparity right now between these two competitors, but again, we've talked about in plenty of past episodes, doesn't matter if you're the smaller man, if you can act quicker on your feet, if you can think quicker as well, you can beat those bigger opponents.
Aladdin coming off a loss to Carlos Zimmerman in his debut a couple of weeks ago, the go-home show for Fairly Odd Partners, so trying to get back into the win column as he'll tag in Jasmine. Maleficent will enter the ring and meets a foot right there to the mush.
You saw an example there of, again, I'm pretty sure we might have seen it during the tournament as well, but all those, you know, the men have to wrestle the men, the women have to wrestle the women, so you saw Maleficent enter the ring by herself. She did not need a tag. As soon as Jasmine was tagged in by Aladdin, she became legal. Look out.
619. The tall frame of Hades was up over the top rope rather than the middle rope where usually Aladdin's used to hit, so he hit the midsection. Cover in. Oh, and almost got the 3 on Hades.
Not sure what the area code would be for Aladdin. I have to rename that move.
Does Agrabah have a zip code?
I don't know.
I mean, it's modern day Iraq, I know that, so I don't know what their zip code is over there. Their zip codes are so much weirder than they are here in the States.
Oh, nice little stunner there by Aladdin to get out of that submission hold.
And looking for the Destroyer. Almost a modified Pop Rocks there, as here's the cover to put Hades away, and Maleficent gonna make sure that that doesn't even get to a 1 count.
That's a good tag.
There's a tag too, now forcing Maleficent to actually stay in the ring. Again, as soon as one team makes a tag, the other team has to change members. As there's a stunner, I don't know if that's a stunner or what that was, by Aladdin on the outside of the ring. Some kind of DDT, and now Hades is out of action.
This is smart by Aladdin. Take Hades out of the conversation. Maleficent has nobody to tag. Roll up here by Jasmine. Had a small package there. Maleficent able to sneak out though. They're still fighting over here near us with Hades and Aladdin. The 2 women on the other side of the ring. Referee, we already had this matchup end via a count out in the tournament. We don't want it to happen again. Oh, double Celine Del Sol!
Man. Aladdin doing a fantastic job making sure Hades doesn't get involved in this matchup, and that actually does affect the legal participants because now there's nobody for Maleficent to tag in. There's a cover by Jasmine.
Springboard splash to put Maleficent away. For Ernest Wright took a little bit of extra time getting over there, making sure both shoulders are down, and gave a little bit of extra time for Maleficent to recuperate.
It's like both male tag team partners are back in the ring, but now, oh no. This could be a superplex attempt. Off the top rope, there it is.
Massive superplex. just as bad a landing for Jasmine as it was for Maleficent. And now Jasmine setting up. Might be looking for the Rose Plant.
Oh, night.
Spikes Maleficent to the canvas. Cover is in. And Jasmine and Aladdin get a little bit of redemption here tonight.
I'm not too sure what Hades was doing. It looked like he stepped in the ring, maybe trying to break it up, but then he left the ring. Maybe he probably should have broken that pin up. Either way, good thing to know we finally do have a winner that wasn't decided by countout.
Well, up next is the Female Fighting Championship on the line at Battle Royal as FWE continues.
Whispers through the crowd, all the chaos in a royal brawl.
We welcome you back here to FWE, getting ready for our first of 2 title matches here this evening. The Female Fighting Championship on the line.
The following contest is an 8-woman battle royal and is for the Female Fighting Championship. Introducing the challengers, representing the Queens from Paris, France.
And as I was going to say, but our ring announcer Mike Rowe kind of preempted me. 8-woman battle royal. That's the type of matchup that the Female Fighting Championship is always defended in, always puts the champion at a disadvantage. But we have seen here in the past, Jack, individuals be able to retain the title despite the odds stacked against them. Harley Quinn has done it, so has Cruella DeVille.
Absolutely, as we say hello to Belle once again, and we say hello to what also could be some Royal Brawl practice as well. It's a Battle Royale match, so retentions, again, like you said, not exactly in the favor of the champion, but anything can happen. All kinds of chaos can go on.
A couple of weeks ago, the go-home show for Fairly Odd Partners, we saw not 1, not 2, but 3 debuts. Well, add one here tonight as Susan Storm of the Fantastic Four about to make her in-ring debut, and opportunity here in just her first match to maybe walk out here tonight with a championship.
And we talked last week when Autumn Brooks took on Elizabeth Swan and was able to pin the champion, how impressive of a debut that was. This isn't a one-on-one, but it would still be an impressive debut nonetheless if Susan Storm were to be able to win the Female Fighting Championship in her debut match.
You refer to Autumn Brooks. She's in action later on tonight, as well as Gamora, one half of the tournament winners last week. Number 1 contendership for the Women's World Championship going to be on the line.
And from Uganda, Black Archer.
We saw Shuri make her FWE debut back at Infinity War Games, answered the Open Challenge for the Women's World title, came up short against Elizabeth Swan, now going to try her luck here for the Female Fighting Championship.
I feel like we're going to be hearing this Avengers music quite a lot.
There's a lot of them on the roster, both on the men's and the women's side.
A lot of big names in this matchup here, too. Something unique to the women's division here in FWE as well. A title that's exclusively defended here in these Battle Royal matchups.
So far for the first 3 women, they're all still searching for their first championship belt here in FWE.
And representing Toxic Attraction from the internet,
How about a former tag team champion in Shigo? She and Kim Possible held the tag team titles, eventually lost them to the current champions, Team Let It Go, Elsa and Anna, but now Shigo kind of striking out on her own here, looking for a singles title.
And there's nothing wrong with trying that out as well. You know, if you've had some experience in a tag team division in the past, now maybe trying to get some singles gold as well.
Saw Kim Possible last week teaming up with Dylan Young, Tri-Wizard champion. Dylan will be in action later on this evening. As a matter of fact, I'm understanding his matchup will be immediately following this one as he takes on the Tri-Wizard champion King Candy. An eliminator match, if you will. King Candy trying to take Dylan completely out of the title picture. Dylan Young fighting for a rematch.
Representing the Bad Girls from out of this world, the Unrelenting.
Well, our first three participants have never held a title here in FWE. Shigo, a former tag team championship, but how about somebody that's got experience in this type of a matchup? A former female fighting champion in Nebula.
Nebula looking to reclaim what was once hers if she can win this matchup.
Nebula also a former tag team champion with her sister Gamora. As of right now, statistically, one would think Nebula would be the favorite, but still two more challengers and the champion yet to come.
And from London, England,
Well, I might have to amend my statement. It might be the favor, tilting in favor of this individual, because I mentioned Cruella prior tonight. The fact that she is a former female fighting champion, and she was one of two women who went into one of these matchups as the champion and left with the championship, was able to overcome the odds.
It's an impressive feat in a Royal Rumble type of matchup, or a Battle Royal type of matchup, I should say. Of course, this being a Battle Royal, there's a key difference between that and the Royal Rumble. When we get to the Royal Brawl Pre-LE, we'll see two people start in the ring, and then competitors will run in one by one until all 30 of them have entered the matchup. In this one, all 8 of our competitors will start in the ring. Last one left standing that hasn't been thrown over the top ropes with their feet hitting the floor will be the female fighting champion.
the Dangerous Alliance from Moscow, Russia, the Spider Black.
Black Widow, a former hardcore champion, looking for her first holding of the female fighting championship. And going back there real quickly to Cruella as well, you know, we talk about her ability to hold the title, going in the champion, coming out the champion with 7 other participants in this type of a matchup. Don't forget too that she also retained the Women's World Championship back at FWE Fantasia in that 8-woman ladder match. So she's very good when it comes to multi-women matchups with a title hanging in the balance.
I would say the only difference is all the action in this one has to take place inside the ring. You can't have any of the chaos that we usually see in 8-woman matchups take place on the outside.
I mean, unless you go down underneath the bottom rope.
This is true.
And introducing the champion from another time, the female fighting champion, Catherine Everett.
Well, the last time we had an 8-woman over-the-top battle royal, it was a career-defining moment for Katniss Everdeen. She was able to outlast the other 7, and for the very first time in her FWE career, captured championship gold. Now puts the title on the line here tonight. Can she be the 3rd female to retain?
This is certainly one of the more impressive accomplishments that you can add to your roster, or to your resume on the FWE women's roster, because you know, the retaining the title can be really difficult. Again, exclusively defended in these battle royal type of matchups, so the odds are against you just about every time. Katniss hoping for once the odds are ever in her favor.
Now, people may not realize, but this was actually outside of the men and the women's world championships. This was the first title that there ever was in FWE. It was known in the early days as the One versus All Championship, which Harley Quinn defended a couple of times. It's now the Mulan-themed Fighting Female Championship, and it is on the line here as we're underway.
And you saw the advertisement for the Royal Brawl. This is, again, like I said, basically practice for that matchup. Again, competitors must, the only way you can be eliminated is if a competitor is thrown over the top rope and both their feet hit the floor ringside.
You could see all 8 of these women in that Royal Rumble match. So some matchups we're seeing right now could play out when we eventually get to that PLE as well. Eliminations, of course, occur when you throw your opponent over the top rope and both feet hit the floor. Just like that, the champion is gone.
Wow.
And there goes
Almost
Shego.
immediately, another elimination.
I'm going to try and overcome my temptation to say, there she goes. Well, I just said it. Anyway.
Just like that, we're down 2.
And we're guaranteed a new champion.
And Shego eliminated the champion and was knocked out by Cruella DeVille immediately after, so some action to start this one.
Cruella DeVille, Nebula, both looking to become a multiple-time champion. For Belle, Black Widow, Susan Storm in her debut, and Shuri, they're looking for their first title here. Oh, and there
Susan
goes
Storm.
Black Widow, there goes Belle. Half the field's gone just like that.
Just like that. I was going to talk about how Susan Storm didn't quite connect with all of that first boot that she landed on Ariel, but or not Ariel, sorry, Belle. I don't know where I got Ariel from, jeez. But you see that now only 4 people left in this matchup. There's a lot of red in this matchup. That's probably where I ended up getting Ariel from.
Nebula up over the top rope. Shuri looking for the elimination. Nebula got back in.
Well, maybe Cruella was going to try and dump Shuri over the top rope, but instead just... I'm looking at Nebula here. Trying to send her over the corner, but Nebula's going to stay alive for the time being. This has been a really fast matchup. You know, you don't really see these matchups go about as long, or these matchups tend to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, all those
But
quick eliminations were shocking. Like,
Yeah,
especially the first 2. I mean, who had on their bingo card the champ was going to be the first one out?
I was just talking too during her entrance about how, for Katniss, about how it can be one of the biggest accolades defending that title just because of how hard it is to do so. And there you go. You saw how hard it was firsthand.
Now with the eliminations of Katniss, Shego, Belle, and Black Widow, we're down to our final 4, and this is drawing out a little bit more, kind of like what we were expecting out of the gate. Right now we've got these one-on-one matchups.
Shuri landed a Poison Rana on one of them, and then another one was a Hurricane Rana, so some impressive moves there by Shuri, but now she finds herself in a disadvantageous spot.
Oh!
Nice super kick by Cruella.
I'm not sure she was aiming for Susan Storm. I think Susan got in the way. I think that was destined for Shuri, and Shuri just got saved.
Either way.
Shuri up over the top. Nebula will eliminate Shuri. We're down to 3.
Oh, what a spinning forearm there, or spinning elbow.
And look who we got left. Nebula, Cruella DeVille, who have won this title before. Susan Storm in her debut. It'd be maybe the ultimate upset here tonight if Susan's able to pull this one out. Oh, I think Nebula might have been going for a boot in the corner, and Susan cut her off at the pass.
Impressive stuff by Susan. And now she meets a boot anyway from Cruella. And like you said, this is spicy here. 2 former female fighting champions, along with somebody who's never wrestled before in FWE.
Oh, Susan up over the top. Susan's gone just like that. Wasn't even able to hang on. Too much momentum. We're down to 2, and both these women are looking to be a multi-time female fighting champ.
There was a Superman punch landed by Nebula, and there's another spinning elbow.
Nebula looking to eliminate Cruella.
Roll in the back
Cruella.
spot.
And Nebula's gonna win it. Two-time champion.
Here is your winner, and new female fighting champion, the Unlimited.
Only one woman has held the female fighting championship more than once. That was Harley Quinn. Nebula now becomes the second woman to do so. Up next, it's a rematch. Dylan Young versus King Candy, #1 contendership on the line.
Whispers through the crowd, load of chaos into a mortal brawl.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring from Tampa, Florida, weighing in at 220 pounds, Dylan Young!
Well, we run it back from Infinity War Games. This time, though, it will not be with a title on the line. It is an Eliminator-style matchup, as Dylan Young, the former Tri-Wizard Championship, was lost back at the last PLE at Infinity War Games to King Candy tonight. If Dylan Young can topple the champion, he will get a title rematch.
But on the flip side, if he is unable to take down the champion, that means he does not get a rematch for as long as King Candy holds that Tri-Wizard World title.
And there's so many people waiting in the wings as well. We know Michael Norman's got a guaranteed world title shot at some point.
From the internet, weighing in at 100 pounds, the men's world champion, King Candy.
So you've got that threat, but then on top of that, we know somewhere looming backstage is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, Hulk, who could cash in whenever he wanted. So whether you're King Candy or Dylan Young, whoever ends up holding that Tri-Wizard Championship, you are a marked man.
This is what comes with the territory of being a champion in FWE. You're going to have a target on your back whether you like it or not. You're going to have to be ready to defend that title at a moment's notice. And you might not always be ready for who you're going to have to defend against.
It's actually kind of funny if you look at Dylan Young's record at PLE. So far, he is only 1 for 3 as he's gone into that matchup as the champion in terms of retaining the title. He lost the title back at FW Fantasia to Shaggy Rogers, won it back the following week, lost the title to King Candy at Infinity War Games. He's only retained the title at Sugar Rush, and even then, things didn't work out so well for him as he was immediately taxed by the family.
And that was more the family making a statement, too, as we didn't know that they were the family at the time. We didn't know that they were going to have that kind of association with one another, but we all saw what ended up coming to be as there's a heat-seeking elbow by the champion.
Maybe one of the biggest upsets of the PLE at Infinity War Games saw King Candy able to take the title from Dylan Young, who's held that title for most of his FWE career. Now King Candy trying to maybe prove to everybody that that was not a fluke, and immediately has busted Dylan Young open in the early going. That cannot fare well for the challenger, because every pump of the heart is going to be more and more blood, and that's going to cause vision problems. That's obviously, the longer this matchup goes on, the fatigue's going to set in, so early advantage here if you're the champ.
And it's going to be a little bit tricky to deal with. Like you said, the vision problems, that stuff gets into your eyes pretty quickly. You're just going to have to fight through it, especially this early on in the matchup, but a referee reaches the count of 5. They're going to have to get back into the ring at some point soon.
Dylan taking this time. You see referee Ernest Wright having to hold King Candy back, and that actually may open up the door for Dylan Young to find a flurry of offense.
Oh, man.
Talked about the family. Last week we saw Matt McIntyre in a great matchup against Gaston. Gaston's in action tonight with the United States Championship on the line, taking on the #1 contender Kyle Matthews. Matt McIntyre will get a United States Championship match at some point. Michael Norman, a guaranteed world title shot, as a small package suplex there. Pin is in, and Dylan's just barely going to be able to escape. And of course, we also know that the tag team titles, that Anthony McCurry, Cole Eastwood, they have a guaranteed shot at those belts. But we've driven this home ever since Infinity War Games that they have to give prior warning, at least a week in advance warning of when they're going to challenge. Jack, I've been told Cole and Anthony will challenge Kuzco and Kronk for the tag team titles next week.
Well, there you go. There's that advance notice that we've been talking about all the time. It's kind of like a Money in the Bank. The only difference being you can't just like run in after a match, for example, whatever you want. You have to let them know.
Nice suplex there by Dylan Young. Double underhook. Suplex there by the challenger. And now going up top, might be looking maybe for the Swanton. Hits it!
Ooh.
Oh, but the foot under the rope. The left foot was under the rope. Costly mistake there by Dylan.
Dylan was incensed. You could see him yelling. He was so upset that he couldn't make that work. See, we'll have to see if that gets in his way in this matchup, if he can take that anger out on his competitor. Is he going for a sharpshooter here? No, he's going for something else.
Might be going for a stomp there. Cranium to the canvas by King Candy. Now Dylan float over DDT.
Doing the work with King Candy leaning against the ropes. Now a rebound move.
Might be looking maybe for the GTS. Oh, he's gonna hit it! Lights out! Champ down! Cover is in! And Dylan's gonna pin the champion!
Impressive stuff by Dylan Young.
Here is your winner, Dylan Young.
So with this victory, Dylan Young will be able to invoke a rematch clause for the Tri-Wizard Championship. We'll have to wait and see exactly when that takes place. But mission accomplished tonight for the former champion. Up next, #1 contendership on the line for the Women's World title. Autumn Brooks takes on Gamora here on FWE.
Whispers through the crowd, load of chaos in a royal brawl.
Welcome back here to FWE.
It's scheduled for one fall. Making her way to the ring, representing the Rockers from Richmond, Virginia, Awesome Brooks.
As we get ready for the #1 contendership match for the Women's World Championship. And this woman, Autumn Brooks, made her debut a couple of weeks ago, took FWE by storm in her debut performance.
You pin the champion. That's a fantastic start to your FWE career. And I would say she has more than earned this #1 contender opportunity tonight.
It was an open challenge eliminator match issued by the champion Elizabeth Swan. Autumn Brooks answered the call, as Jack said, pinned the champion in her debut, and now has an opportunity to face Elizabeth Swan for the Women's World Championship. And I understand that that matchup will take place at the Royal Brawl PLE, as her opponent comes out one half of the winners of the Fairly Odd Partners Tournament Championship Challenge. Well, Jack, you know her quite well. She was your partner there in that tournament. Highly motivated there, You gotta think that motivation carries over here. She's got an opportunity for the very first time to have a one-on-one matchup for the Women's World Championship belt.
I'll do my best to call this matchup down the middle, but, you know, Gamora definitely had a lot of experience with her as of late. Going into that mixed match challenge together, managing to come out on top. She was a fantastic partner in that tournament for me.
Gamora, former tag team champion, has yet to hold singles gold here in FWE. Could take one step further towards that if she wins here tonight. Out of the gate, facebuster there by Autumn Brooks. Experience level obviously has got to go into the corner of Gamora. But Autumn, as we saw, able to have that immediate pinning of the champion. A little bit of a dark horse here. And obviously, she's got quite a bit of experience in her corner as well.
Certainly not a bad resume builder to start things off. Of course, though, you look at the fact that somebody who pinned the champion versus somebody who won our tournament in the last sort of mini PLE. So both of these contenders more than earning this #1 contenders matchup opportunity.
Talk about that motivation for Gamora. How about the motivation for Autumn Brooks? Yes, she pinned the champion, but then in the Fairly Odd Partners tournament, it was Anthony and Autumn against Elizabeth and Will Turner. And Will Turner and Elizabeth ended up winning, eliminated Anthony and Autumn in the very first round. So Autumn would certainly love to have a little bit of a chance of redemption in that regard here against Elizabeth Swan at Royal Brawl 2.
That essentially would put them at 1-1 against each other. So you'd have to feel like maybe a rubber match is incoming, but there's a pin by Gamora.
Forearm almost put Autumn away.
Sounded like a literal kick out there. Some contact was made. Another facebuster.
Forearm shot right across the jaw, right on the cheekbone. Gamora down, and now the victim of some vicious kicks.
She might be looking for a superplex. Never mind. I thought she was maybe going for one, but looks like something else.
Uh-oh. Maybe looking for a superplex here.
Oh, this is a superplex.
Oh, hits it. Goes for the cover to be the #1 contender for the Women's World Championship, and Gamora sneaks out at 2.
I can't say I've ever seen a superplex attempt where you lifted up your competitor and then ran away for a brief moment there. So maybe catching... Oh, nice reversal by Gamora. I was going to say maybe catching Gamora off guard, but Gamora briefly was able to turn the momentum back in her favor, but then it was Autumn with a couple of forearms and elbows.
Need to remember as well as... Oh, whoa, too far away there. Autumn looking for the moonsault. We also need to remember that Gamora not only won the whole tournament, but she actually pinned the champion in that tournament as well. It was in the second round. Gamora got the pinfall on Elizabeth Swan to move on to the quarterfinals. So another reason why Gamora is in this #1 contenders match is Autumn going to the top, looking for, I thought it was the splash, but I think she might have hit the knee there into the sternum. Cover is in. And Autumn is gonna go to Royal Brawl.
Autumn is building up one hell of a resume to start her FWE career, pinning the champion and now getting a rematch.
So Autumn Brooks, Elizabeth Swan, Women's World title will be on the line at the upcoming PLE. Could Autumn Brooks, in just a short amount of time, potentially take the title from Elizabeth? We'll find that out, but up next, it's time to find out if Nick Gunther can get back in the win column.
Whispers through the crowd on the chaos in Royal Brawl.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring, representing Vicious and Delicious.
this is an interesting one here tonight as we welcome you back to FWE. Nick Gunther in one-on-one action, and there's been some rumblings backstage, Jack. Some possible dissension in the ranks here with Vicious and Delicious, RJ Bishop and Nick Gunther. A big reason for it kind of stems back to Infinity War Games. Remember when RJ issued the open challenge for Kronk on a one-on-one matchup? He ended up winning. They got a tag team title shot, but Nick Gunther got pinned. Nick's kind of, in a sense, been the weak link, and now an opportunity here tonight to kind of prove the doubters wrong, see if he can finally gain another victory here in FWE.
And his opponent, representing the Dangerous Alliance from New Orleans, Louisiana, weighing in at 220 pounds, the Falcon and Wilson.
You mentioned the discourse going on backstage right now between the two members of Vicious and Delicious, and I just hope that that doesn't exactly get into Nick Gunther's head, especially in a really tough matchup against Sam Wilson, who came up just short in that #1 contender matchup last week.
That was a brutal match we had in that Fatal 4-Way last week. I mentioned about the fact Kyle Matthews going to be fighting Gaston in our main event here later on for the United States Championship, but none of those individuals in that matchup could have been at 100% coming into this week, so Sam Wilson might be, in a sense, ripe for the picking here for Nick Gunther. We'll see if Nick can finally get his mojo back. You got to think his tag team partner RJ Bishop backstage watching this matchup intently.
I think the one thing that really, tells whether or not there is tension in the ranks between the two is the fact that RJ is not ringside supporting his partner. But there's also the possibility that Nick could have asked for him to stay back there as well. The moves on the outside of the ring after Sam Wilson landed that kick that sent Nick out of the ring.
Vicious and Delicious, two-time tag team champions. Lost the tag team titles in a tables match to Cusco and Kronk. As we mentioned, RJ defeated Kronk in a one-on-one matchup to become the #1 contenders, to which they lost the titles there, as well as double stomp by Sam Wilson to Nick Gunther. And in both of those matches, if I remember correctly, when the titles were on the line, Gunther was the one that got pinned.
I think Gunther's trying to get his mojo back. So far, it is not happening in this matchup, as he's been on the receiving end of just about all of these attacks by Sam Wilson, who's taking the time to show off to the crowd a little bit.
Gunther, I believe, off of that boot on the outside, you can see a laceration just up above the right eye. We saw what kind of a motivation being busted open was for Dylan Young earlier, but Nick Gunther's lights may be dimmed with that reverse GTS, and just like that, Sam Wilson puts Gunther away. The losing streak continues.
Not a good period of time for Nick Gunther here, as he's lost just about all of these matchups. I can't imagine RJ Bishop is too thrilled either.
Sam Wilson with a decisive victory here tonight. Nick Gunther, Vicious and Delicious, gonna have to go back to the drawing board as, hold on a second. Oh, RJ's come out.
I talked earlier about how this had happened, how RJ was backstage.
He wasn't out here during the match, but he makes his presence felt after the match is concluded. And I believe he's asking for a microphone. We're about to hear from RJ Bishop.
Nick, I know you and me have been teaming up for about past 3 months as of late, and I think I've been carrying the team in that span. The past couple of matches, I don't think you've been on your A game because you've been pinned in most of the matches that we've been doing, especially in the tag team championship matches. So, in that case, It's time for a change. Before I say anything, I'm sorry, but I have to do this.
What the heck?
What in the world?
RJ Bishop just laid out his tag team partner, but more importantly,
What happened to RJ?
I don't know. All of a sudden, we've got a Durrburger in the middle of the ring. We're going to have to sort this out. FW continues right after this. Don't go away, but what the heck's going on?
Victory whispers through the crowd. All the chaos in the Royal Brawl.
Contest is scheduled for one fall and is for the United States Championship.
Getting ready for our main event here tonight, folks, but we're still trying to figure out the events that just occurred. RJ Bishop saying it was time for a change. The lights went out, and all of a sudden, a Durrburger figure was in the middle of the ring, laid out Nick Gunther. Are we to assume that that was RJ maybe going to a dark side?
I feel like that might have been, and if that's the case, we might have seen the end of Vicious and Delicious as we know it. We've got to regain our heads, though, as we've got a U.S. Championship match here.
Wow. Yeah, this will be something that will be talked about for the next week or so. But Kyle Matthews here with an opportunity for the United States Championship. We saw him last week, able to defeat 3 other superstars in a fatal 4-way. And now he looks to dethrone Gaston, who has had, I've actually been told, the longest title streak in FWE by 1 week over Michael Norman, the Intercontinental Championship. Kyle could end that streak tonight, capture his very first singles championship.
We've talked at length about how Gaston has had basically an iron grip on that United States Championship that he currently wears around his waist. Like I said, like I keep saying, he's held it before FWE was even a weekly series, so we're gonna have to keep an eye and see if he is able to maintain that defense. I would imagine the odds are in his favor, but never say never if you're Kyle Matthews.
But here's the thing, if you're Gaston, right? I mean, so far he's been undefeated when the title is on the line, but last week, did we see a chink in his armor? Granted, the title wasn't in the balance, but suffering that Extreme Rules loss to Matt McIntyre, who is guaranteed a United States Championship match at some point. Could that be something in the back of Gaston's head? Maybe a little bit of doubt now going into this title match.
You know, if it works against you, it certainly doesn't help the mental, but something else I think worth keeping in mind is that that was an Extreme Rules matchup. This one, as far as I'm aware, standard rules. But we have seen it before where our ring announcer, Mike Rome, has announced the match as one type of match, but it ended up being no DQ. We'll have to see what goes on here. Let's send it down to Mike Rome.
Introducing the challenger from Dayton, Ohio, weighing in at 197 pounds, Kyle Matthews. And his opponent from Paris, France, weighing in at 240 pounds, the United States Champion, the
You brought up a great point about last week, and I kind of cast my memory back to a matchup that we had. It was mid-card title holder versus mid-card title holder, Michael Norman and Gaston. Michael Norman winning that matchup against Gaston. That didn't stop him at all from defending the United States Championship on the final the following PLE. So, to your point, based on the fact that it was not a championship match last week, we may see Gaston at his best here tonight as he looks to continue his reign with that United States Championship title belt.
And not even that too, but again, the Extreme Rules stipulation as well, as Gaston going right to work with an elbow. But, you know, if weapons are not legal in this matchup, It's not really, that can't really be a factor for either competitor, but that can help out knowing the fact that, you know, a lot of weapons were used in that matchup last week between Gaston and Matt McIntyre.
We are on the road to Royal Brawl, our next PLE on August 7th. And what an incredible evening it has been. We already know the #1 contender for the Women's World Championship at Royal Brawl as Autumn Brooks will take on Elizabeth Swan. Dylan Young has an opportunity now to invoke a title rematch against the current Triwizard champion King Candy. We saw the female fighting championship change hands. Nebula now a 2-time champion. And still buzzing about what we saw just moments ago. RJ Bishop going to the dark side, as you said, Jack, maybe the end of the faction, the tag team known as Vicious and Delicious.
I still have no idea what I just watched.
I don't think anybody does.
I'm still shaken up by that. I'm trying to add to the commentary here for this matchup here for the U.S. Championship. I don't want to take away from that, but man. Well, countouts will certainly be a thing.
Yep, champion's advantage. Gaston surprisingly goes to the outside there to Kyle Matthews instead of maybe taking that count-out victory. Now the count resets.
Well, Gaston, we know he's a man that will try to win the mental warfare as well. He will try to get in the head of his competitors, and he knows he has the champion's advantage. He can try and prolong those ringside interactions.
Saw Kyle Matthews' teammate Dylan Young successful earlier on tonight. Could that be a trend here for the Thrill Seekers? Could Kyle Matthews topple Gaston and become the new United States Championship? Look at the power there.
Wow. That almost looked like a choke slam. But Gaston reversing the momentum.
Irish whipped. Gaston. Almost a modified spine buster there, a spine buster slam cover, forearm into the face, and Kyle will kick out at 2.
Emphatic kick out at 2. Kyle letting his competitor know he's not done with him yet, but now a splash by Gaston.
And now the strength on show by Gaston. Showing off what happens when you eat 5 dozen eggs. We documented this last week. This is the first opportunity Kyle Matthews has had in his FWE career for a singles title one-on-one.
Into the cover. And another kick out by Kyle Matthews. Gaston setting up for something, though, trying to keep a hold of his iron grip on the U.S. title match.
Wow.
Big boot to the head.
I don't know what size boot he wears, but Kyle Matthews could certainly tell us, as boot to face. Gaston retains the title.
That took no time at all.
Here is your winner, and still United States Champion, the X.
Gaston continues to hold a stranglehold on the United States title. Who will be able to topple him is the question. Maybe Matt McIntyre, but we don't know when he'll invoke that matchup clause. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week here on FWE.